Greetings and salutations. Today we're back in Death Valley and we're just south of the visitor center at Furnace Creek, and that's south, that's towards Badwater Basin, and we're going to take a little drive down the west side road to check out a couple of points of interest. One of them being the remains of the Eagle Borax Works and the Dayton Harris graves. Today's off-road adventure is twofold. I want to go see these. I wanted to do this back in December during the Christmas break, but this road was closed because of flooding. And the second reason I wanted to come out here, there's several canyons that you can access from the west side road. Trail Canyon, Hanapa Canyon, and Johnson Canyon, Warm Springs Canyon, Butte Valley, where there's some old mines and miners' cabins. We're not going to check those out today, but I wanted to check out the condition of the roads and kind of pinpoint and get a visual of where those canyon roads are. But we're going to check out the Dayton Harris grave and the Eagle Borax Works today. We're at the north end of the west side road. We're going to follow this. It's about 30 miles through a pretty rough dirt road. Oh, it's 40 miles, excuse me. And it's going to come out down towards Ashford Mill, and then I think we got time. We're going to exit Death Valley through, what's the name of that road? I can't remember the name of the road now. Amargosa Springs Road? I don't know. But there's another dirt road that exits out of the south end of the park at Tacopa. And we'll leave Death Valley via that way if the Jeep's still running and, God willing, the creek don't rise. So why don't you come along with us on today's adventure and enjoy the beautiful Death Valley National Park. So let's go. Right away, I mean, not even a mile down the road, not even a mile, we're in what's known as the Devil's Golf Course. What can I say? It's a very rough and rugged terrain. This is mostly salt mineral deposits for as far as the eye can see. Today's February 2nd, and it's probably 75-ish, 75 degrees. It's very comfortable today, but down here in the summertime, it gets well into the triple digits. And there is a story that was told about a guy, this was back in the 90s, a guy who went for a hike across one of these salt flats and took his video camera with him. And they found him the next day. He had succumbed to the elements, and it was the next day, and he was 2/3 of the way across this salt flat, and it's so dry and hot in Death Valley that the salt, that the minerals that he laid upon as he died sucked the moisture right out of his freaking body, and his internal organs were rattling around inside of him like the seeds of a gourd. Pretty gruesome picture, but this is not a hospitable place to be, especially in the summertime. And if you do come out here, please bring plenty of water. Let's see here. Salty. You may or may not know this, but on the west side of Death Valley, I forget the name of the lake, I'll annotate it here. There used to be a salt mining operation. A couple of them, actually. Well, let's keep going.
not cool, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Heather says it's beautiful. Oh, it is beautiful. Right at the bottom of Telescope Peak. Still quite a bit of snow up there. This is Tule Spring, and we're close to the gravesite. I don't know exactly where it's at, but it's around here someplace. But apparently there's a water source here. Well, there's no open source of water, but it's called Tule Spring for a reason. There must have been some water here. Oh my God, the natives are restless. All right, well, this is the Davis Harris gravesite. There's two men buried here, and they have their own unique stories. So Jim Dayton was hired by William T. Coleman, the founder of the Amargosa and Harmony Borax Works here in Death Valley. And William Coleman also developed the Furnace Creek, what's now known as the Furnace Creek Ranch. It was something else back in the day, and that was back in the 1860s or so. But William Coleman hired Jim Dayton to be the caretaker of the Furnace Creek Ranch. Jim Dayton, he was in his, I think he was in his late 60s, early 70s. He had to go into California, about 150 miles away, to pick up supplies, and it was noted that he mentioned to a couple of people there at the ranch that he wasn't feeling that well, and he headed out on his 150-mile journey to get supplies, and 11 days later they got word that he never showed up. They were expecting him, so a search party was sent out, and this spot is where they found him along with his team of horses who were dead. Jim was dead. His dog was still alive because there's a spring about a half mile down the road, and the dog would go back and forth to get water. But James Dayton didn't survive. Well, Shorty Harris, he's a character that's well known in Death Valley. In fact, he's largely responsible for many of the gold strikes in and around this area. He's a, like his epitaph says, a single blanket jackass prospector, and his request was to be buried next to his friend here at his gravesite just across the way from Badwater Basin. I'll share more about Shorty Harris. That's what they called him, Shorty Harris. Wow. He's quite a character. You know, I can't think of a more beautiful place to be buried than here, in the shadows of Telescope Peak. The most colorful characters in Death Valley history all have nicknames. Shorty Harris, Seldom Seen Slim, say that 5 times fast. Death Valley Scotty, just to name a few. There's Rock Chucker Meyer. Look at him go.
In the shape of a triangle.
A Dorito.
A big Dorito.
What?
Eagle Borax Works is just down the way. In fact, I can see parts of it right from here. So let's head down there. If you've ever been to Death Valley, you're probably familiar with the visitor center that's right next to the Furnace Creek Ranch. And down the road a spell, to the north of the visitor center, is the Harmony Borax Works, where there's a replica of the 20 Mule Team Borax ore carts that's on display there, along with the ruins of the mill that processed the borax that they mined out of that area, Death Valley. Lesser known is the Eagle Borax Works, and I believe that predated the Harmony Borax Works by a few years. And this produced some low-grade borates. And I'll just turn the camera on this little information kiosk. There's a few structures that remain here, and the nearby borax windrows are the most visible reminders of the Eagle Borax Works, the first borax refinery in Death Valley. Businessman Isidore Dauntlet founded the Eagle operation on this site, producing borax by late 1882. And during its first 15 months, this refinery produced 130 tons of low-grade borax. The inefficiency of the refinery's operation led it to near bankruptcy. This, combined with personal setbacks, resulted in Daunette's suicide. In 1884, the Eagle Borax Works closed. I believe this is the site right here of the refinery, but I am not positive. Let's go take a little walk here and see what we can see. That's a sure sign of water. Full shizzle. It reminds me of the kind of grass I lost my drone in. I don't see the windrows that they were talking about. Maybe they're over on the other side. I can see the windrows over yonder, and you can see them clearly still to this day from Google Earth. So that's the Eagle Borax Works, the oldest borax mining operation in Death Valley. It's a pretty dark tale. I guess the guy that when he committed suicide was only like 32 years old. Oh, what a tough living out here. Now we're about 28 miles to Ashford Junction, so we'll continue on and pick it up at the Ashford Mill. Have to look and see. I don't know. Might be a future adventure video. Check this out. Sorry for the wind noise. I lost the patch cord to my microphone. So, this is Ashford Mills. This is probably the last tourist stop along on the southern end of Death Valley. So Ashford Mill served some of the mines. There's some mines up in the hills up there. Might be able to see that up there. There's a little road that goes up there. Anyway, there's a few mines, old gold mines up there, and they brought their ore down here to be processed at the Ashford Mill. And go over there and take a look for a minute and see what's left. Okay, I found it. Furnace Creek Wash. This little road right here goes to Copa. Yay. Well, if we turn right here, we'll head up to Tacopa. If we turn left, we go to Shoshone. I think we're done for today. So I'll close this video out when we get back to the Crooked Nail. Okay? Okay. Well, that was intense. We left here and it was pretty nice and calm and just a little light breeze. And by the time we got to Death Valley, it was blowing pretty good. And by the time we got done with the West Side Road, it was blowing a friggin' gale. That's just the way it goes sometimes. I couldn't get the natives out of bed early enough today to do any exploring outside of Death Valley there, up in those other canyons. And I did just get off the internet and look at a couple of those on Google Earth, and a couple of them go nowhere. A couple of them go to some pretty interesting places. One in particular I'm very interested in going to. But you're just going to have to wait until we go. So that was the West Side Road featuring the Shorty Harris and James Dayton gravesites. And what's left of the oldest borax mining operation in Death Valley, the Eagle Borax Works. So if you're ever in Death Valley, you're probably going to find yourself at the Visitor Center. That seems to be the place to start. If you've never been to Death Valley, start at the Visitor Center. And from there, you can plan your day trip. And if you plan on taking the West Side Road, it's going to take about 2 hours. The speed limit's 25. If you come in from from the north, that's where I would imagine that's where most of the traffic comes from the north, because it's closer to the visitor center. And if you leave the visitor center and get on Badwater Basin Road and just past the Artist Drive, there's a road that goes to the right into the shallows of the valley. And from there, I think it's about 19 miles to the Eagle Borax Works. And I think most people go in from the north and just turn around and go back, because there's not a whole lot past Eagle Borax Works other than those 2 water tanks and a couple of roads that go up into different canyons. When the weather's good and the roads are dry, you'd only need a vehicle with 6 inches of clearance, perhaps. We passed a couple of sedans that were driving through there. They weren't going 40 miles an hour, but they were driving fine. You won't get stuck. But if there's any weather at all, they're probably going to close the road, and then you're kind of screwed. That's all I got for today. Thanks so much for coming along with us. I really appreciate that. So if you haven't done so yet, underneath this video is a button that says subscribe. Click that and the little bell icon right next to it so you won't miss any of these off-road adventure videos. If you don't mind, if you could do me a huge favor, smash that like button and share this video with your vast social media network. That helps the channel a lot. Thank you in advance for doing that. Check the links in the description for the equipment that I use to make these videos. And if you're so inclined to purchase any of that kind of gear, I'd appreciate it if you went through one of those links. If you're going to shop on Amazon anyway and you don't need any of that stuff, could you do me a favor and go through one of those links? The channel gets a little bit of a commission off anything that you purchase if you go through one of those links. It's just pennies, but every penny counts. You know, it costs $50 to fill that Jeep up every day. Hey, and if you can afford to do that, that's super. Thank you in advance. If you can't afford to do that, that's okay too. Enjoy the content nevertheless. It just probably means we're related. So until next time, you have fun, stay safe, shoot straight, keep your powder dry, have a splendid day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.